lines, sorting through the media bias, exposing the propaganda, and challenging you to use your brain. It's time to tap into the truth.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed time to tap into the truth. Today is October 14th. It is a Monday, and it is just a few moments before 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is your host, Tim Tapp. Going to try to fit these three main topics in. These are events that took place over the weekend. All are newsworthy, noteworthy, and necessary to be discussed. The reasons why, however, are different in each case. Number one, we are going to address the issue with the Washington Redskins. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Redskins. Hope you're not offended. And there was also a series of EBT glitches over the weekend. In certain areas of the country, there was an unlimited amount of purchasing power on your EBT card. In other places, the EBT card wasn't working at all for people that had, obviously, some value assigned to their cards. And also over the weekend, in conjunction with the truckers that were riding for the Constitution, that literally had the White House surrounded at one point in time. Of course, Barry had managed to ease out of the White House and look for safer ground, I suppose. It was interesting, but there was also the Million Vet March. Veterans upset with the fact that this administration has been trying to keep them out of their memorials, made an active march against several of these facilities, broke through and tore down barricades that had been put up, and then actually ended up eventually taking bits and pieces of these barricades and dumping them on the White House lawn, or at least that's the way the story's been reported. We'll get into the details, get into the truth of what all happened, but as we do all that, let's start out with the story that is probably of the least significance, the story involving the Washington Redskins. Now, here's the fun part about it. Bob Costas has once again utilized his position on NBC Sports to get the platform that he's provided there, and instead of talking about what he's paid to do, what he is outstanding at doing, and that's the sporting event that he's covering. It just so happened, as the Sunday night game, this time was the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, Costas decided to leave the realm of sports and once again get into the realm of politically correct behavior. So you've done this before over gun control issue, and it wasn't entirely inappropriate in that particular case, just in so much as suicide of a well-known NFL player had just taken place the last time he did this. However, this is inappropriate. Costas went on and tried to make the assertion that calling the Washington team Redskins is on par with using the N-word in referencing black Americans, or using the S-word for Hispanic Americans, or just Hispanics in general. I suppose it works even if they're not Americans. Or various other slurs that have been used against different ethnic groups and various backgrounds. Everyone except for Caucasians, no mention of the C word towards Caucasians. I suppose cracker, or crazy-ass cracker, is just not worth mentioning, at least in Costas' mind. But this is absolutely asinine and a false argument. Because calling the Washington team Redskins was never meant as a derogatory. And according to a very recent poll, 90% of Native Americans tend to think positively towards the Redskin name. They do not see it as a slur. They do not see it as being derogatory. They see it as honoring. The exact opposite of what Costa said. So, in fact, this becomes an insult to the Native Americans. If you come across an American Indian and you feel like you have to explain to them that they should be upset by this, well, then what's the deal? What makes you think that you know better than the people that it actually addresses? But Costas gave his little speech, and I am not going to play sound bites from it. I'm not going to get into it. It was absolutely ridiculous. He came across very sanctimonious, and it was very insulting if you happen to be a Native American. The very fact that 90% of American Indians have absolutely no problem with it at all should say a lot. The fact that that remaining 10%, not all of them find it disparaging either. A larger percentage of the 10% left over have no opinion. Less than 1% of those polled had issue with it. But after making his comments about the name of the Redskins, Costas defended his remarks on Dan Patrick's radio show this morning. Costas compared the feedback to the backlash he received over his gun control comments after the murder-suicide of Kansas City Chiefs Javon Belcher. Now, according to the transcript from the Washington Post, he told Patrick, "It's much more muted than the gun thing, and any negative reaction comes from an extreme fringe." He had much more time this time. Now, that was the best he could do in his attempt to justify his comments. He said, quote, "I wasn't even calling for a specific action, although I was implying it. What I was asking the audience to do was to consider that even though," and I went out of my way to say this, "clearly no offense is intended." He then admitted that most Native Americans are not offended with the name, but that since other people might be, it should be changed. What other people, Bob? Seriously, we're talking about a guy who really needs to stick to calling sports. You're entitled to your opinion, Bob. You are. You're wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion, and it's okay to have a wrong opinion. It is. But your job is to take that platform of giving sports commentary and give sports commentary. It's a false narrative that anybody's upset about this. This is one more thing to try and distract the masses. They're hoping the majority of Americans are so busy watching football that you're not going to care what's going on in D.C. I got news for you, Bob, and everybody else. Today, word got out. The Washington Redskins have decided to make a name change. It's official. They're dropping the war part that says Washington from their name because they find being associated with D.C. to be extremely embarrassing. How's that, Costas? How's that? Does that make you feel better about what's being said or what's being done? They're going to stay the Redskins. They're just not going to be called the Washington Redskins anymore. That's a name change I can get behind. Costas noted that the best polling that they have at this point, and of course they may get new polling, he's hoping there'll be new polling, but the best polling that they have at that point is that a majority of Native Americans say it's not particularly an issue for them, but for many it is. He also said that the Redskins owner, Dan Snyder, has backed himself into a corner. Now, what he meant there, folks, is he said there's not going to be a name change. He said, leave me alone. There will not be a name change. So this is still, they're trying to create a controversy. Okay? They're trying to target the Redskins and create a controversy that simply doesn't exist. But I'll go one further. It's not even a done deal that Costas has said what he said and that's the end of it. No. Because now, believe it or not, there are 20 specific lawmakers. I'll let you guess what political party they happen to be a part of, that are on board with outlawing the name. Do you get that? The ownership, which is honoring Native Americans, has decided that because some people might be offended, they want to outlaw it. A group of Democratic lawmakers are actively pushing legislation that would essentially outlaw the name Washington Redskins. How could lawmakers actually do this to the NFL franchise? They would outlaw any trademarks with the phrase Redskin. Maryland Representative Donna Edwards, whose district includes the NFL football team's field, has signed on to the effort. Quote, I think it's well time, Edwards said today, according to local outlet WJLA. I certainly understand where the Native American community is coming from. 90% are okay with it or proud of it. Is that the part that you understand where they're coming from? This bill that Donna Edwards is co-sponsoring is the non-disparagement of Native American persons or peoples in Trademark Registration Act of 2013. Say that 10 times fast. The legislation amends the Trademark Act of 1946 by mandating that trademarks containing the term Redskin or any other form thereof should not continue to enjoy the benefits of federal registration. Recent psychological evidence has demonstrated the general negative effects associated with references in sports to Native American people. That's actually in the bill. The bill was introduced in March by one of the representatives from Samoa. And currently, there's about 20 lawmakers that have co-sponsored the legislation, all of whom are members of the Democratic Party. with one exception, Representative Tom Cole, a Republican from Oklahoma. All of this is taking place while, of course, D.C.'s budget battle is going on. And, we've got the debt ceiling. We've got the government shutdown. We've literally got 1,000 different things going on. But this group of individuals have taken it upon themselves to try and attack on this non-issue. Again, they want you paying attention to this instead of the important things at hand. And they think that they can get you focused on this. They think that we're going to pay more attention to what's going on with the Washington Redskins than we will with what's going on in Washington, D.C. They want you talking about the football team instead of the veterans who were met with baton-wielding cops during their Million Veteran March, which we'll get into that a little later in the broadcast. But what is really going on? Why would anybody think that this is important enough to go after the Redskins instead of taking care of the important business at hand? I mean, there is literally 100 different things going on in D.C. that these Congress people need to be working on. But instead, what are they doing? This fake argument, and it's BS. Nobody is really upset about this. Nobody. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our second title, EBT glitches that took place over the weekend. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tap into the Truth. Check us out at tapintothetruth.com for our latest blog posts and for links to all of our past broadcasts. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter. That's Tap Into the Truth right here on Spreaker Radio.
Don't find fault with, so just set me free. It's like I don't know you anymore, and there was something even worse I said.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and thank you for staying with us. We are coming to you live from historic Roane County, Tennessee, and we are talking next up about the EBT glitches that took place. Now, for those of you who may not necessarily recognize what EBT stands for, the short, simple answer is, of course, food stamps. The food stamps have been done electronically for a few years now, and as a result, that's what the E part stands for. Electronic benefit. But at any rate, food stamps. Now, there were a couple of big issues that took place over the weekend, and it was really wild. Louisiana probably had one of the most wild scenes. There was Walmart stores in Louisiana that absolutely had to face what seemed like was going to bust out into riots. Shelves at Walmart stores in Louisiana were cleared in a shopping frenzy over the weekend after a glitch in the electronic benefits transfer system allowed government food stamp recipients to make purchases without spending limits. According to the official story, for 2 hours Saturday night, customers rang up overflowing cartloads of food at stores in Spring Hill and Mansfield, Louisiana, after cashiers allowed them to use their EBT cards anyway, despite not showing limits. It was worse than any Black Friday, according to Spring Hill Police Chief Will Lind, and a statement that he made to the local TV station KSLA. And police were called in to help manage the chaos, but no arrests were made and no one was unruly, according to the police chief. Mansfield police confirmed officers were called in for crowd control, but no arrests were made there either. After the system came back online, customers abandoned their carts and left the store, leaving a huge mess behind. It was like a tornado had come through, according to O.J. Evans, who took cell phone video of the aftermath at the Mansfield Walmart. The glitch occurred when the EBT system went down in several states during a routine backup test. The system came back up Saturday night, but was apparently not working properly everywhere. A Walmart spokeswoman told KSLA the company was fully engaged in monitoring the situation and transactions during the outage. We did make the decision to continue to accept EBT cards and purchases on WIC and SNAP during the outage so that they could get food for their families. This was Walmart spokeswoman Kayla Whaling. Walmart shoppers Stan and Judy Garcia said that purchases made without appropriate funds was the same thing as stealing. Well, it's good to know that somebody has a moral compass in the state of Louisiana. That's plain theft. That's stealing. That's all I got to say about it, Stan Garcia said. Whaling declined to specify whether Walmart would take the financial hit on food purchase without card limits or on the perishable foods left behind. A spokesperson for the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services said that they were aware of the situation and investigating any potential fraud. Now, it seems like they'd have their hands full investigating because there was no potential fraud. There was a great deal of actual fraud, and Walmart was taking advantage of it. If you ask me, and of course no one has yet, but there should be charges filed against everybody who knowingly tried to take advantage of the fact that their Walmart cards were not working properly. Well, not Walmart cards, they're EBT cards, but I say Walmart because I'm thinking Walmart has an obligation also. Part of the deal for accepting EBT cards, for accepting food stamps, is that you take responsibility on your end. You know, if there's a problem, you're supposed to stop what you're doing, which in this case would be stop accepting the cards, and immediately inform the proper authorities. They decided not to do this. And without question, they fully expect to be reimbursed. They do. They're expecting to get their money, and where's that money going to come from? Although food stamps are financed through the state will have to pay for it up front. Most of these items are issued ultimately through the federal government. So they're looking to get federal taxpayer dollars put in their bank account, saying that we had to make a call and we didn't want people to go hungry. Well, I'm pretty sure that anybody who had legitimate limits knew what those limits were. And I'm pretty sure that they would not have gone hungry. For the folks that just went buck wild in the middle of the store, there are legitimate issues that should be dealt with. These people know how much money they have available to spend on their EBT cards. They do. There's no question about that. There is no question. I promise you, I've been on food stamps myself, and I can tell you, you don't go into a store without knowing how much you have left on your card every time you go in. And you're probably prepared as your levels get low to do the split purchases where, okay, I'm going to do what we've got left here, and then we're going to pay for the rest with this. But that's the whole thing. These people knew exactly what they were doing when they rolled up. I want to know how these people found out that the cards weren't working and what the word of mouth ended up being. It took place more than just in these two cities. And I'm sorry, there's no way this only happened for 2 hours. No way. It's not possible that this was just 2 hours. What is possible is the fact that somebody somewhere definitely made for sure that all their friends knew about it. Now, I have a hard time believing this is just a matter of a system update error. But I'm willing to accept that that's a possibility. I'm not on board with it, but I'm willing to believe, okay, that's possible. But, users in 17 states were unable to use the cards during this restart. This glitch in the electronic benefits transfer system resulted in absolute chaos and the need for police assistance in a couple of Walmart stores in Louisiana. Okay? They had to call in the cops because here there was unlimited amounts. Obviously, everybody in Louisiana, or at least in these two cities of Louisiana, had full access to all of the food stamps for the folks in the 17 states that couldn't use theirs. Now, the system was supposedly back in service within a day, but not before Walmart stores in Spring Hill and Mansfield, Louisiana, saw the shelves cleared when the stores began allowing people to use their EBT cards without limits. Walmart knew. They knew what this was about. And it's a lame excuse, but it is the lame legal excuse they're going to use to try and sue the federal government to get the taxpayers to pay for all those groceries. But which of these people is most to blame? Walmart should not get a penny restored to them because they willingly and knowingly did this. And again, as I point out, as one of the conditions to accept these benefits is that you're supposed to do your part. You have work to do when it comes to being able to accept these things and to utilize these benefits in their stores. You're supposed to behave yourself and follow protocols. ultimately, 17 states had the service completely turned off. And, like it or not, there were a ton of people in Los Angeles, for example, that were threatening to absolutely riot as a result of what was going on, because their EBT cards, not working. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of outrage when their EBT system was out of whack, because one of the vendors in Xerox Corporation was performing the routine check on their backup systems, and it caused a system failure. So, it's two things going on at one time, and it caused this major glitch. While there were some reports that the system had come back up faster than the 2-hour reports, bottom line is that there were folks that were receiving welfare benefits couldn't access theirs. So it wasn't just food stamps. I don't even know what to say about this. How do you have unlimited benefits in Louisiana and then in 17 states, nada, nothing? Can't use it. Can't go buy your food. Can't go cash your electronic check, which, you take it to the EBT, you do whatever, you take it to an ATM, you do whatever's necessary. I don't get it. Now, maybe that's just me. Maybe I should know better. But honestly, what is going to be the ramifications here? Bottom line is the people spent... I'm sorry, have you been to a Super Walmart? Have you seen what they have in store? Have you seen the grocery levels? These people spent a ton of cash that's not theirs. They knew what they were doing. Walmart knew what they were doing. I'd say that the people that went over their known limit by more than $20, because I'll give folks some simple math errors, and I think $20 is very generous on that count. Obviously, some people have a lot harder time doing math than others. But if you can't get within $20 when you know how much it's going to be, okay, I'll give you up to $20. You exempt from prosecution. Everybody else should be charged with fraud and theft. And Walmart should be charged with fraud for accepting the unlimited amounts. It's that simple. It is just that simple. That is the way it should be. Anyone that disagrees, send me a message. Let me know what you think. I'd be happy to hear your opinion on the matter. But I'm certain that none of you can feel it appropriate to try and justify theft. It's just not appropriate. In the meanwhile, going to take another quick break right here, and then when we get back, we will discuss the final topic of the day. So stay with me. We'll be right back.
Tap into the truth. Check us out at tapintothetruth.com for our latest blog post and for links to all of our past broadcasts. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter. That's Tap Into the Truth right here on Spreaker Radio.
Yes, that's right. We are back, and thanks for staying with us. Now I want to talk about the Million Vet March, but not specifically the march itself. I don't think anyone was surprised by the fact that it was taking place. We all knew it was going on. What I found most amazing was what actually transpired. Now, one of the amazing things to me is that, these veterans, they timed their Sunday protest to go along with the ongoing protest of the truck drivers that were driving for the Constitution. They ran into this issue where we had police officers that tried to confront these veterans. In many cases, 70 to 80-year-old men, some of them still in wheelchairs, and they threatened them with batons. They threatened them in a bullying manner. And even after what transpired yesterday, again, Barry and friends ordered the Park Service to put the barricades back up at the World War II Memorial. Outraged veterans removed and dumped them outside of the White House yesterday. And then now, while the government is still supposedly shut down, more money is being spent on new barricades to fence off the World War II Memorial. And this was just hours after the veterans removed the old barricades and just dumped them outside the White House lawn. Some have cited the White House's vindictiveness over the barricades as an example of how the occupier is behaving like a petulant child having a tantrum. And this is just an effort to punish Americans for the government shutdown. Other people have said that putting the barricades back in place is just a slap in the face for veterans, and noted that the White House is a lot more keen to secure war memorials than they are the country's borders. After wounded veterans and their supporters helped remove barricades and dump them outside the White House yesterday during the Million Vet March, the Fed sent baton-wielding riot cops in an attempt to intimidate the protesters. Didn't work out particularly well, however, as far as trying to intimidate them. Because what really transpired as they tried to intimidate is a lot of these guys really got upset with the fact that they were facing cops, riot cops, wielding batons, threatening with... It's mind-boggling to me. How do you do this? If you're the President of the United States, how do you send riot cops out to try and protect the memorials from the veterans? What is wrong with the way your brain works? It's astounding to me that people are willing to put up with this. How does this even happen? Why is there not an outcry? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you're not seeing this on the network news. You're not hearing about the fact that these veterans are being bullied as much as they can be. You've got a tremendous amount of anger building up, and they're really trying to push this group of veterans and the people that would support these veterans into a confrontation. They're trying to bully them. They're trying to intimidate them. And then when they find out these folks stormed the beaches of Normandy, they will not be intimidated by some mall cops wearing blue UN-looking uniforms. These guys are part of the greatest generation, and they are brave, and they know what they sacrificed for, and they know they're not seeing that out of our government currently. But make no mistake about it either. As much as they're backing down and they're afraid once they see that they're not going to be able to intimidate these folks, the rest of America needs to stand up and follow suit. We need to make sure that all of our elected officials, all of them, understand that they're there for the job of serving us, not their own power base. It's beyond time for us to pull together. I mean, the Democrats now have decided that everything that we were wanting before still isn't enough. The Republicans were willing to give up everything and fund the government, raise the debt limit. All they wanted to do was do away with the tax on medical devices. And again, the occupier says, no, that's not good enough. Because, you see, now you want to keep the new budget too close to sequestration levels. So that's not good enough, even though we weren't talking about that before. And still, there's a lot of folks that still want to point fingers at the Republican side of this argument. The worst part of it is there are Republicans that deserve some finger pointing at. It's not the ones you think. Ted Cruz, Mr. Gomer, Mike Lee, honest-to-goodness, legitimate conservatives that are trying to protect Americans from this monstrosity are on the right side of this argument, and in a couple of years, they're going to be held up as heroes by the very people right now that are trying to vilify them, because everyone will better understand what the problems are. But I'm going to ask you this as an American. Forget left or right for a minute. Forget conservative, liberal. Forget progressive, Tea Party. Forget whatever you want to label yourself as. You should be ashamed of yourself if you're willing to sit back and watch World War II veterans be treated the way that this White House and this administration, whoever is calling the shots and making these decisions, if you're willing to sit back and let those people treat our veterans that way, you should be ashamed of yourself. And if you're not willing to let that happen, it's time to stand up and make your feelings clear, regardless of who your elected officials are, whether they're Democrat or Republican or Independent or some crazy mixture thereof. Make sure they know that you're not going to put up with it anymore. It's time to stop bullying the American people and get back to the job of passing an actual honest-to-goodness budget, not just a CR. That's tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you'll take the time to check us out at tapintothetruth.com. Send me a message. You can find this show on iTunes as well as on TuneIn. You can find this and the Blog Talk version of the show. In the meanwhile, don't take my word for it. Definitely don't take their word for it. Take some time, do your own research, use your brain, and always be prepared to work a little hard, to dig a little deeper, so that you can tap into the truth. Have a great night, everybody.